I want to tell you about something that I'm involved in with my kids' school, and it is called the Snowflake Fund, where a group of parents gets together and pulls some money together and gifts it to our teachers. And I have been a part of the Snowflake Fund committee for the last 6 years, and I absolutely adore getting to bless and gift our amazing teachers with this money. And it's a project. And I want to break all of that down for you, and I want to help you understand how I use mind mapping and organizing for a project to accomplish things both in life and in business. And this past year, we had to pull together the Snowflake Fund on a very tight timeline. And we also added people to our committee. So we had a number of different factors in play that made mind mapping this particular project, so that we could get this holiday gift to our teachers on time, really, really crucial. So I want to use this as an example and share some others to help you understand how mind mapping works and how, this type of planning really is going to help cut through the overwhelm that happens with a lot of different projects and events like this that kind of can feel a little bit daunting. So we're going to dig into that. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of planning, and I'm going to just nerd out. So nerd out with me real quick. I want you to think about how mind mapping could help you. And I have some examples for you. Before we go any further, I want you to download the worksheets that go with all of the season 3 episodes, including this one for mind mapping, so you can see some examples of what a mind map looks like, so that you can then apply that to any future projects, events that you have coming up in your life. So what is mind mapping and what does it help you do? Well, mind mapping is really a way to create a map from things you have racing through your mind as it relates to a certain project or event. Let's say we're really going to be talking about those two things, projects, events, as we share different examples here in this episode. And the idea is to create sort of a map or a blueprint or a line by line written up plan that you need to use, that you can follow to help you finish the project, throw the event in a way that's going to be successful. The other thing that mind map helps with is helping you create an order of operations. And when I think about things, when things get overwhelming, and we've talked a lot about overwhelm here on the Erin Chase Show. You can go back and listen to some of the episodes from season 1 where we really dig into the overwhelm. But one of the causes of overwhelm is we don't know where to start, or we don't know which thing to do first if there's two things competing. And so when you write out a mind map, it helps you to kind of narrow down the order of operations. When you have everything written out that needs to happen, then you say, okay, actually the 7th thing that I wrote down, or the circle over here on my map, that's what I need to start with, even though it's down here in the bottom right corner. Okay, and look on the examples in the worksheets, you'll see what I mean here. And when you find your starting off place and you start chipping away at the individual things related to the project or the event, the overwhelm kind of reduces, and you just kind of keep moving forward. The other thing that this helps is it helps prevent a disaster before it happens. It also helps prevent you from getting halfway done, realizing you forgot to do something and you have to go back to the beginning and rework anything. We want to avoid any of those potential disasters or reworks that might come up later on as you're setting up the event or working on getting the project to completion. Okay, how to mind map. So there's really kind of two overarching options here. One is to do it on paper. It's my preferred way. If you haven't figured that out about me, I'm a paper pencil girl. Mechanical pencil to be exact. And the other option is to use a software. There are a number of both free and paid softwares online that you can use for creating maps. And part of this is just your personality. Part of it is how your brain works. If you like circles, use the mind map circle software, or use the circles within the software. If you like rectangles, use the rectangles within the software. So there's different ways that you can do this. But the first thing that you need to do is write out type out or put into the software everything you can think of now as it relates to this project or event, right? As it relates to the Snowflake Fund, I literally dumped everything that needed to happen as it relates to our fundraising efforts, the envelope preparation efforts, and the luncheon efforts. It's kind of had three sort of buckets, if you will. And so I wrote out everything that needed to happen. And in this situation, the money has to be raised first, and then we have to gift it to them. So the order of operations there was fairly simple. Raise the money, prep the envelopes, give to the teachers. So that's kind of the real life example that we're sharing here, or one of the real life examples that we're sharing here. So I wrote everything down onto paper, and I did it in, I like to think of things in buckets. That would be things that would go into this circle or this box or cloud, if you will, however you do it. This will make a lot more sense if you're looking at the worksheets, but I would put everything as it related to the fundraising efforts. Like, these are the ways that we can fundraise. These are the people that are going to help with the fundraising team. This is the mechanics of the fundraising, of like where the money's going to be donated, all of those types of things. So I literally wrote it all down into the best buckets that I could. Then I could see, are we missing anything? Do we need to add something here? Could we try something different for the luncheon? Looking at everything after I had dumped it out onto paper. Then what I did, rewrote it all in the best order of operations that I could see at the time before we get going. And the idea in rewriting it is then I could communicate it then with the other committee members that were working with me. So write it all out, and then rewrite it in a way that's a little bit more organized and going to help you follow the order of operations, if you will. So it's dump and kind of map as best you can, and then remap it, rewrite it so that it's really, 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 really clear. If anybody came to see, you would want me to be able to look at that map and be like, oh yeah, this is for the baby shower, and you need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then that. Baby shower done, everybody's happy and, goo goo gaga over the cute, pregnant belly, right? So that's the idea. Dump it all out and then rewrite it in a way that is going to help you have the order of operations that you need to then execute the different tasks related to the project or event. Once you have your map sort of rewritten, if you're working with just yourself on this particular project or event, then just work off of your mind map right there. If you are working with a team or a committee, then you're probably going to need to get this into some sort of a digital format. So whether that's typing it into a document, sending it in an email, sharing a link to the mind maps within the mind map software, whatever it is, if you need to, go ahead and transfer that into kind of a digital format so everybody knows, kind of what everybody's working on. If you are working with a bigger, much larger project, or for business, you might want to consider some sort of a project management tool or app, something like Trello or Asana, Basecamp. Those are kind of much bigger, larger project management type systems, but it's something worth considering, especially if it's a project. My mom has been in charge of the Fiesta Band Festival here in San Antonio in the past. That is a project that takes 6 to 9 months to work on and plan. There's so many moving parts to that. And so that would be an example of a big project. If you're leading that or one of the heads of the committee on a project like that, then you'd want to use something like that to help you accomplish everything as it needs to be accomplished. I want to share another example. I've shared with you this, school project that I've been working on, and I've kind of an overview of the different things that happen. But I want to consider some other things that you could use a mind map where you map it all out, rewrite it, kind of order it in such a way. Other examples in life that you could do that to help you reduce the overwhelm and move through the, the setup of the project or event very quickly. So another example I mentioned, like a baby shower, is a great one. Oftentimes baby showers involve multiple hostesses, so having a couple people involved so everybody knows who's in charge of what and who needs to bring the flowers and who's picking up the cookies and who's making this tea sandwiches and all those types of things. Other things would be like a holiday feast. Have you ever cooked a Thanksgiving meal, the whole meal? That's a lot. There's a lot of food that needs to be prepped, and there's a lot of food that needs to be prepped in a certain order. It's actually a great example of just kind of it only happens once a year, but you've got to plan the menu, which should happen kind of towards the beginning of the month. You need to look for sales, be watching for those throughout the month of November. And then come the week, you need to pull out your turkey to thaw in time to roast it on Thanksgiving morning. You need to, what can you make ahead? Can you make the pies on Monday and the cranberry sauce on Tuesday and the mashed potatoes on Wednesday? So then all you're having to do is the turkey and the stuffing and some other sides on Thursday morning, right? What can you do? What's the order of operations for your holiday feast? And also, like, the oven space for your holiday feast, you can map all of that out ahead of time and you will have a delightful time preparing your Thanksgiving feast, even if you don't like cooking, if you can get that order of operations correct. Okay, so there's just another super easy, practical, real life example of how you can mind map your Thanksgiving feast 100%, or your Christmas meal. Whatever your holiday feast is, you can absolutely do that. Another one would be like a birthday party for the kids, right? The guest list, the invitations, where are you hosting this? You know, what types of snacks do you have? Who's doing the cake? Whether it's complicated or like my son's birthday we just did, like I just had them decorate the cake. Just gonna say it was super easy and super great that, and you know, they're boys and they're super low maintenance and they didn't want some elaborate like Barbie cake, but it was really, really easy and delightful. Texting a couple friends, let's have a backyard birthday party, and everybody decorates their own cake. It was quite lovely. So whether it's a simple thing or a bigger thing, getting that birthday party together in the middle of everything else that's going on in life, it can still be a struggle. So if you can kind of dump everything out that needs to happen onto paper, order it up, rewrite it, and then start taking action, start texting people, sending evites, sending invitations, like whatever it is, then you are going to have a much smoother time getting everything ready for that event. Another great example, like a family reunion. That's a lot of people. Well, depending on how big your family is, it can still be a lot of people. Our family reunions are close to 40 people when we do them in the summer, when we're not in a pandemic. But the planning for that, we did shirts one year, and I was a little late on the game with the shirts and the design and the ordering and the shipping and all that stuff. But thinking about all the things that you want to happen with your family reunion, who's in charge of this meal, who's in charge of that meal, how many days long is it? Like, if you can map all that out onto paper, and then again, reorder it and then assign things to people or divide and conquer when everybody's crystal clear. And then you show up at the reunion and it's just a magical time, unless you end up in a conversation with your crazy Aunt Mary. But that's another story for another podcast for another day. Okay, last one I want to share with you is about freezer cooking. Of course, I know, dinner, freezer meals, I'm the queen, I got it. I have to bring it in here because I think that one of the things people have trouble with freezer meals and like a freezer meal prep session is not knowing what to do in what order. And I want to help you with that. We have this whole thing all figured out. We want to make your freezer meal prep session as smooth and efficient as possible. We even have a software, like inside the software, we assign letters to the tasks so that regardless of what meals you pick, everything gets ordered in the way of the letters so that you don't get half an hour into your freezer meal prep session and realize you were supposed to brown the ground beef first. Browning the ground beef every single time in our software gets the letter A because it happens first. Okay, that's how like nitty gritty and nerd. I told you I was going to nerd out. This is nerding out about freezer meals, but this is because I want this to be efficient. I want freezer cooking to work well for you so that you'll have success with it, so that you'll keep doing it month after month, so that you always have backup in the freezer for meals. So going back to what order should you do that in? Well, first you need to pick the recipes you want to use. Then, considering maybe what's on sale at the grocery store, because I love saving money on food. Then you need to pick up your groceries, whether you're ordering them curbside, going into the store and picking them up. Then you need to prep your ingredients. Then you need to put your meals together and into the freezer. That's the order of operations, but it all starts with, okay, this is what I need to be putting into my freezer. This is when I'm going to do it in my week. And then you can kind of buzz through those phases, if you will, of putting your meals into the freezer. I hope those kind of more real life examples are helpful for you in terms of how kind of a mind map and sort of planning and getting out as much as you can and rewriting it and ordering it in such a way that you don't get surprised later down the road is helpful for you. And you can think about something upcoming in your life that you could try this sort of planning and mind mapping methodology to help you have a better experience with pulling off the particular, project or event. So, pie. We have a slice with every episode. This is my acronym for how to feel less overwhelmed and sort of move through different projects and areas of your life. And really most of what we talked about here is related to the planning and somewhat the order of operations and implementing. So PI stands for plan, implement, and evaluate. So when it comes to sort of this mind mapping concept, it looks like this. Planning is the brain dumping and the organizing of all the parts and pieces to your project or event. The implement is setting up the plan, setting up the document with your committee or your teammates, and then taking action. And then evaluating is, of course, what went well, what didn't go well, what did I miss on my original mind map, what could I do differently the next time I either do this project again or a similar project, or I throw a similar type of event. What could you do better to make it work smoother for you? So that's PI, plan, implement, evaluate. Take your mind map, really get good at making mind maps, really get good at writing sort of these project plans, if you will, and then of course taking action and improving on them for next time. We close each episode with think, feel, take action, because how you think determines how you feel, which determines how you'll take action and the results that we're after here. So the results that we want here is sort of a streamlined, smooth experience. I want you to think, how can I get from jumbled and overwhelmed to streamlined, smooth, efficient, not having to backtrack, all of those things. And I want you to feel like I actually had it together this time I planned the birthday party, or we actually did a great job as a committee pulling off the snowflake fund, right? That's how I want you to feel. And then of course, taking action would be creating a mind map for an upcoming project, event, idea, whatever it might be, so that you can then rewrite it, get the order of operations going, and get started in getting your project, event, idea pulled together in a successful way. All right, that's it for this episode. Please email us. We'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions about this mind mapping concept, let us know. Also, please rate, review, subscribe to the podcast in your player. We love to see your feedback and hear how the show is helping you. And we also want your ideas too of how we can improve and how we can bring other new related episodes to help you in your journey of intentional living. And if you haven't yet, I mentioned this earlier, but download the worksheets for all of the season 3 episodes here of the Erin Chase Show. You can also get season 1 and 2 as well. If you haven't listened to those yet, we have it all available for you at erinchase.io/podcast. And that is it for this episode, my friend. Happy mind mapping. And it's bye for now, and we'll talk again soon.